Cheers.
Cheers, John.
So, I'm fascinated by the mix of things that have been in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Music, obviously, but also politics and also business. When you were little John Stevens, what did you want to grow up to be?
When I was little John Stevens, I wanted to be quite a few things. One of them, I wanted to be a musician. I loved playing the piano. I started when I was 4. I started playing in church when I was pretty young. I was singing in the church choir, and I would watch, the Grammys. I would watch some of my favorite artists on television, like Stevie Wonder, and I wanted to be them. I wanted to be doing what they were doing. Also, when I was a kid, I wanted to be president. I'm not from Hollywood. I live in Hollywood now. I grew up in Springfield, Ohio. My dad was a factory worker. My mother stayed at home with us and tailored on the side. I grew up in the church. I know where a lot of these folks come from. I am a middle American. I am from the same kind of upbringing that a lot of folks in middle America have come up in. So calling me a Hollywood liberal is kind of deleting the first half of my life. I know what it's like to be a Midwesterner in a blue-collar family, and I carry a lot of that memory with me. That's why I'm active in issues of education reform and criminal justice reform, because I know what it's like to be in a family that's dealing with these issues and affected by these issues. When I was 15, I wrote an essay. It was for a Black History essay competition, and the question was, how are you going to make Black history? And I literally said, I'm going to become a famous musician, and I'm going to use my platform to fight for justice and equality and give back to my community.
Michael Jordan famously once said, I'm not very political because Republicans buy sneakers too.
Yeah.
I happen to know that Republicans listen to all of me because I heard it at a wedding of Republican friends last year. Why have you decided to lend your celebrity, your time, your money to so many political causes?
I can't help it. Honestly, it's probably not good for business. It's probably alienating some people, and I understand that. But I think it's worth the risk for me because I care enough about these issues that I can't just be silent. I care about me being an honest person, me being an authentic person, me living in my truth. And part of my truth is caring about these issues and speaking out about them when I care. It would be too hard for me to be silent about it. I just couldn't do it. It's not in my constitution.
I read an article where you'd said that your wife Chrissy makes you bolder in terms of speaking out on issues.
Yeah.
Explain that. How is that?
Well, she's just more, she's more obviously more dynamic, and I'm more kind of laid back and reserved.
She's a little sassier than
Yes, exactly. It's kind of rubbed off of me a little bit. I've been a little less reserved with some of my opinions since we've been together.
What would you say are her principal issues? Is she very animated by the Me Too movement, or
she is to some extent. She cares a lot about, I would say, women's reproductive freedom. So we've donated to Planned Parenthood. She cares a lot about immigrants issues because her mother's an immigrant from Thailand, and so we donated to the ACLU when we saw what was happening with the family separations at the border. So I think those are some of the issues that animate her. And I think everybody kind of finds their own personal connection, and I think hers have to do with women's freedom and immigrants' rights.
Do you get a lot of grief from people on the other side politically that, why are you speaking out? You don't know what you're talking about. You're, a dilettante on issues, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, we get it a lot of ways. So, of course, you've seen people like Laura Ingraham tell LeBron to shut up and dribble. And in general...
Has anybody told you to shut up and sing?
Of course they've told me to shut up and sing. And in general, I think Hollywood, when it comes to actors and entertainers, more of us lean toward the left than toward the right. And so the right has kind of taken on this idea that celebrities should shut up. Of course, they just elected a celebrity who hosted, Celebrity Apprentice of all shows. So I don't think they actually believe that celebrities should shut up. They just want celebrities to agree with them. And if they don't agree with them, they want them to shut up. They're happy to have Ted Nugent on their network. They're happy to have, whatever B-list actors they've had on their network. They'll take anybody that will come to them. They're so happy that Kanye is on Team MAGA now, and they're embracing it. So they don't want you to shut up. They want you to shut up if you don't agree with them.
Your friend Kanye West stands for not everybody going in the same direction. I'm very interested in what looked to me like a two-level conversation you were having with him that broke into the public. It looked to me like you, as a friend, were sending him a message to try to persuade him that an argument that he was making was not right. He didn't seem to be regarding it that way, and he made it public. What was going on there? Why did he do that?
Well, I'm not going to try to explain why he does anything. You know, I don't have the degrees to explain all the things that he does. But I feel like I was a bit shocked that he shared the text exchange between us.
You did not expect that to happen.
I did not
It was a private conversation
It was a
between
private
friends.
text conversation between us. But I also was proud of everything I said,
Yeah.
and I stood behind everything I said. And I didn't mind that people knew that we were having that conversation. Like I said, I'm proud of everything I said, and I stand behind it. And
Do you think he's grappling with the arguments that you made?
I think sometimes he is, but I think a lot of times I don't think he's done a lot of the work and the research to really understand what's going on. And so I feel like a lot of times he presents opinions that are a little bit undercooked.
And is that just a publicity thing? Like he likes the
No,
attention
I
and
think
wants people to focus
he's
on it?
genuinely, he's being himself. Yeah.
Interesting. Trump routinely says he has produced record low levels of African American unemployment. Are you impressed in any way by the Trump economy?
Well, I think very similar to his business success, he often claims credit for things that were handed to him. We've seen with the New York Times article in kind of excruciating detail how much of his fortune was actually from his father giving him hundreds of millions of dollars. And he sold himself as self-made and getting a small loan. And then similarly with the Obama economy, which as everyone who's paying attention remembers, it was in the basement in 2009. The economy had crashed, Lehman Brothers, all these things happened, and unemployment was over 10%, I believe. And by the time he was out of office, it was around 5%. And the economy had grown quite a bit in that time period. The recession was over, and not enough people were doing well in that situation, but still a lot of progress had been made from a really terrible bottoming out of the economy. And of course, Trump has taken credit for all that progress, and as it's continued to progress under his administration, because he hasn't done enough to mess it up yet, he's taking credit for all of it. I'm never going to be upset that more people are working, the economy's growing, and I think that's a great thing. We just have to understand a little more about the cause and effect. My mother was in and out of jail for a period during my adolescence. She had a drug problem, and it resulted in her getting in trouble with the police and going to jail. I have cousins, close family friends that have all been through the system, in-laws, all kinds of folks in my family have been affected by it. And what we find, when someone gets locked up, it's not just the individual that's getting locked up. Their family is paying that price too.
Now, you're here in Florida campaigning for Amendment 4, which would reinstate voting rights for a very large number of felons who have not committed murder or sex crimes, about a fourth of the disenfranchised felons around the country. It's been polling very well, a lot of support from both sides.
Well, I think the great thing about Amendment 4, it's a unifier. It's 1.5 million people in Florida that are disenfranchised now that wouldn't be if Amendment 4 passes. The majority of those folks are white, 30% of them are black. So that means there's a lot of folks that will be affected by this, a lot of families. Some of them are going to be Trump voters, some of them are going to be Hillary voters, and some of them probably didn't even vote or even think to vote before and might be independent. So it's not clear whose advantage it's going to be on a partisan level, but it's better for us, it's better for all of us if our citizens are voting. Because what that means is they're bought into the idea of our democracy. They're bought into being upstanding community members, and they've paid their debt to society. What we're saying is, let's bring them back into the community. They're working, they're paying taxes, they're in other ways participating in society. Why would we exclude them from the most important role they have as a citizen, which is to participate in democracy?
Are you not concerned about a late attempt by the president to take it down?
Well, let's not, hope he doesn't watch this. Don't say anything to him, okay? No, honestly, I believe it's a bipartisan issue. It would be the biggest re-enfranchisement since the Civil Rights era.
So you've got the Koch brothers
Yes.
who are involved in this. You've got the White House from time to time expresses an
Yes.
interest. Have you worked with the Koch brothers, with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump on these issues?
There are issues where our interests have aligned with the Koch brothers, and they've supported the same measures that we've supported. I don't know that we've explicitly worked together on anything, but there are things that we both agree on, that we've both supported at the same time. So it's kind of hasn't been explicit hand in hand, but
What
we've
about
agreed.
the White House? You
when-
and your wife don't have the best Twitter relationship with the president.
We don't, and we don't think he's a good human being or a good president. But he's in charge right now, and that means he has some power. And I believe it's not wrong to discuss these things with someone who's in power to make a difference if we think it can actually help people that need the help. I know my friend Kim has gone to the White House, Kardashian has gone to the White House and spoken about clemency for certain people, and we're all for more clemency when it's appropriate, and we believe not in just doing it kind of one-on-one and one by one, but thinking of a more holistic approach.
There are some people who are making the argument that Donald Trump has changed the political rules such that you need somebody with celebrity star power to compete. So people talk about Oprah Winfrey, for example. Do you think a celebrity candidate is a good idea? And whether now or in the future, is this something that you entertain at all?
I don't want to be president, and I will never run for president. I know that for a fact. Now,
How do you know that?
I just know I won't. But I do believe sometimes there's a place for people who already have name recognition and are already loved by the people to run for office. And it's funny, the Republicans hate when celebrities talk about politics, but they've been the ones that have elected all the celebrities. They've elected Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan. And, on the left, we've elected usually career politicians and people that are a little more wonky. So there's an argument to be made that the left shouldn't always go for the wonky person and get somebody who is more of a celebrity. But honestly, I feel like the Trump administration is an argument against that. He won, but once we see how he's governed, he's not very good at actually governing and understanding how to use the levers of power very well, even understanding the basics of policy. I would like my president to know the issues really well. I'm not saying a celebrity can't know them, but I would like someone that understands how government works and can actually be effective in the office.
So you're not trying to draft Oprah into the 2020 race?
The thing is, she's brilliant and she probably could learn anything, but that's not what she does right now. And I'd be hesitant to elect anybody that has to learn on the job about how the government works and have some really well-formed ideas about what they want to do in office.
I have heard some people say, looking to the future, say to 2020, maybe not so smart for Democrats to have an African-American presidential nominee this time. Do you agree with that or not?
I don't think it matters as much what the demographic of that person is. It's going to be the quality of that candidate. You have to be tough, and you have to be witty. You have to be quick on your feet, and you have to be a great communicator and really a great marketer like he is to compete on that level. And so there could be plenty of candidates that we agree with on a policy level that may not be able to perform at the level that they'll need to win these arguments. And so I think my kind of metrics for how I'm going to get engaged with the primary process is, do I see a candidate that stands out when it comes to their ability to challenge President Trump?
We're in this Kavanaugh movement right now, which has reawakened the Me Too movement. There have been a lot of big figures in the entertainment industry, Weinstein, Moonves, Cosby, who have gone down.
Yes.
Is it correct for people to say that this is an issue that is especially problematic in the entertainment industry more than elsewhere, maybe because if you're a star, they let you do it?
Well, I think there's particular issues in the entertainment business, I think partly because the casting process and other aspects of the industry lend themselves to people kind of using their power to convince people to have sex with them or convince them that they can make their career if they do certain things. And I think the entertainment business lends itself to that a little more than other businesses, but clearly this is happening in restaurants, it's happening in offices, it's happening in warehouses, it's happening all over the country, and the entertainment industry probably gets
Business and
yes,
politics as well.
absolutely. And so it's happening all over the country, all over the world, and I think the entertainment industry is obviously going to get more attention because the people are famous and the people who are victims are famous. So we've gotten more attention, but this is a bigger problem, and it's the idea that women can't be just judged on the merits of their work or the quality of their character, but they're often seen as sex objects, and their employment and their other involvement in the economy sometimes is dependent on how men think of them sexually. And so that's been a problem since the history of mankind, but I think it's clear that more people are paying attention to this issue now, more men are paying attention, and of course more women are, and more women are speaking out about it, and I think that's a welcome change. It's a change that I think will make the world better for my daughter when she grows up and wants to get a job in whatever industry she wants to get it in. It'll make it better for all of them. And it'll make it better for my son too. He'll understand what the rules of the road are, and he'll treat women hopefully in a way where they're equals and they're not merely judged on how they look, but on what they can contribute to the team.
John Legend, thanks so much for doing this.
It's a pleasure.